Welcome back, everyone, to the Moms Like Me podcast. Today's episode is unique because not only are we talking to a medical mama, but we're also shining a light on a real company and a real resource that so many of our families oftentimes need, but feel a little reluctant or fearful as to how they're going to acquire it. So, in this conversation today, of course, we'll dive into the complexities of being a caregiver of a child with disability, but also to give really practical tips and resources onto how to better your life by making sure you have the right equipment and the right resources around you, and to provide perspective on why not to let fear get in the way of receiving these great tools. So, Sara Valenzuela, excuse me, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. So, we have been talking to Trexo as an organization for a while. You all provide incredible world-class devices and equipment to families, and it is remarkable to see what a difference it can make in families' lives. You obviously work at Trexo, and I know that there is a story behind the story. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your family and your experience being a caregiver in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. I will start by saying it's too long in 30 minutes. So, out there, y'all go to our podcast because that's where you get to see the raw Sarah that never gets raw. So, just if you want to, you need a tearjerker with some tissue and popcorn and you need a glass of wine, roll on over there because I'm not going to give it to you today because it's too much. But, anyways,
I
so
love it.
I'm very transparent. But no, started my journey late in life as a mama and wasn't planning on having, well, I didn't plan on having kids. Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, decided I wasn't going to have kids. About with multiple turns of cancer, just wasn't going to have kids. And do, IVF and the most awesome best friend that decided to carry my babies and speed up to a very quick story of having twin boys. They were early at week 25 on the dot. I'm currently living in a different state than at the time the best friend born. Let's see, I'm trying to make this quick. And basically got to live in the NICU for the next 4.5 months. The boys were born in 2020, Kenny and Christian. Christian unfortunately passed away day 60. So been a tough journey all the way around with, I don't wish that on anybody having a child passing away under the circumstances. But then we started a journey of unknown because we didn't know we were going to be special needs parents. We were sent on our way, just basically told that Kenny was early. We started discovering things were not normal, and we're both older parents and not having children before, and just, that is true. The mommy, that intuition starts. But anyways, and you start questioning and it starts. So it's been a tough journey to say the least, between equipment and doctors and you name it. I can go on and I won't. I don't want to say bore you because all you families and moms and dads and caregivers know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't need to beat the drum, but it's been difficult to say the least.
What is Kenny's like, what are some of his diagnoses? Talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit more about some of
Yeah,
his
absolutely.
impairments.
Kenny is diagnosed with cerebral palsy, epilepsy. We are not meeting any milestones. So we have the typical developmental mental delays. And we're just charging hard. We're currently right now, as a matter of fact, I'm in Canada. We're at a 2-week intensive therapy right now as we speak. So bless my other half and his mom for stepping in and handling the reins and making it happen. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And how old is Kenny now?
He is now 4.
Okay, 4. Great.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we often hear on this podcast is there's a lot of grief involved in having a child with a disability, but also there is a very practical, realistic side of people's brains, which is that you have to continue to move forward. And so I'm curious, how have you as a mom kind of held space for both of those, kind of grieving, but also making sure that you're moving forward and creating a foundation for Kenny to thrive in the body that he has?
Yeah. Great question. I think key for anybody out there with even special needs or not, mental health is important for everybody. We tend to skip over it. We think we're grown. We think we can handle absolutely everything, but it to me is kind of like that silent, I don't want to call it the silent killer because that's pretty extreme, but it's a silent thing that people tend to ignore and kick away.
Yeah.
Listen to it. It's a thing. It's important to address. It's important to take that time because I always resonate this with myself, to people I speak to family. We are important, intricate parts to our kiddos. If we're not okay, they're not okay. So you have to take the time for self-care. I don't care if it's you don't I hear constantly, I don't have time. Make the damn time. Take 5 minutes. Use the when you go to the restroom, I don't care what you do. Take the time. Zen, just meditate, whatever's your jam to just be able to get recentered, take advantage of it. And I am not opposed to counseling. There is nothing wrong with it. Everyone under the sun, professionals, anybody, it doesn't matter. They're there for help. It's not about there's something wrong with you. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
They're just looking for another opportunities to get help. That's all.
So, Sarah, were you familiar with Trexo prior to having children, or was Trexo an organization that you found along the journey?
Found along the journey. We found Trexo walking to our first intensive program in Canada and saw it and actually got to experience the first experience that a mama gets to experience, seeing their kiddo in the Trexo for the first time. The mom's crying, the kid's walking for this first time, and I'm just like literally. And anybody that knows me, A, don't tell me no. B, Imma get what I need for my boy, and that's just how it's gonna go. And I don't, it just that's how that's how I play in my world, work related, even for my customers. If I can help in any way I can, I will. I mean, I try the best I can, especially for those that need a little helping hand. And a lot of times, we are there as a support team because it's not just about selling a device. It's absolutely not. It's a space to discuss other things because I'll be honest with you, I've been in the boat sometimes as that sometimes this is the only person you might talk to as an adult besides your child. And
Mm.
sometimes you need to just connect with somebody that gets you. And it's important to take time.
So, for those people that are listening that doesn't know what a Trexo device is, please explain it.
Yeah, great question. Because everyone doesn't know, Trexo is seriously probably the most amazing device that I've ever come across, let alone be something so important in my own son's life, let alone so many kiddos around the world to this day and will be for many, many years to come. It is a robotic gait trainer to help those that can independently get the opportunity to walk, that cannot walk on their own. It is attached to a gait trainer to give them that ultimate support if need be. Some kiddos, especially like my son, needs pretty much almost full support because we have a lot of kiddos that can't stand on their own. We have parents that help them walk or hold them up. The actual rift in the actual frame itself will hold them up while the robotic legs move them from to and fro, as we talk about, as I call it, to and fro, dating myself. But I always tell people it's the easiest thing is because people like to see it. Go to trexorobotics.com, take a peek at it. We're on YouTube, Facebook, every social media, but I can talk about it for hours. You're going to have to shut me up, Jordan, and just say, we need to move on. But Trexo is a game changer for my family. I've heard multiple stories from many mamas that will call crying and just got to see their kiddo take their first steps that they never thought imaginable that they would ever get to. And we take calls all the time that parents are discovering Trexo for the first time still. And still, it's not even just locally, it's in all these international. And it just brings a smile to my face. And I know my colleagues to know what we're doing. It keeps it moving, especially when times are tough for everybody, when just anything. But Trexo can do multiple things in the sense of it can walk in just giving those kiddos to be able to be outside and upright, to maybe hold their mom and dad's hand, their sibling's hand, their little best friend. Those are priceless moments that parents that those that don't go through those moments don't realize how special it can be for us that walk this journey that are just so important to us.
I love the way you articulated that because I think so often in our busy, busy world, we overlook these little treasures that we have with our children and with our parents. And it's a really great reminder that these moments of walking and holding hands and being outside and being able to really take it all in, that's a gift. And it's not something to overlook. And it's easy to, especially if you're in an able-bodied home and an able-bodied community. But for so many people that get a diagnosis and understand that that future looks a little bit different, then to see what's possible with modern technology, it really is it's astonishing and it's incredible. And I know, through my lens, we see so many families receiving their Trexos, and then we get to read the updates. What that experience is like for the parents and for the community now watching these kids almost transform and experience life in a way that no one thought was possible. I mean, it really is so incredible.
I sit here and I'm shaking my head. I'm like, incredible just isn't enough to say and explain the impact that it has on a family. When we get the opportunity to witness those first moments, those first steps is just, I mean, just like anything, when you get to see your little one take for first steps, it's that monumental. It is that impactful. It is that so, it just, you'll never forget it. You cry, you just are elated. It's just something that because it's so twofold, threefold, because when families discover Trexo later, like you think, oh, everyone knows about Trexo. They don't. And when they discover it, you bring up a lot of things that you brought up earlier about different things of feelings. You have to understand some of the feelings that parents will feel if their child's older and they didn't know about Trexo. They start feeling, we have to discuss guilt. Why didn't I discover this earlier? Why didn't I know about this earlier? And now parents beat themselves up. I beat myself up every day. And you really have to work on that too. Is we didn't have a hand in this. It wasn't our fault.
Let's stay on this theme of guilt because I
Yeah.
think it's an important one, and it's a really good segue into what I want to focus on in the second half of this call. I think what y'all do is amazing, and I think anyone who has a child with a disability that's now discovering this through this conversation, the initial thought is, well, that's great. I want one. And it's expensive. I think that there are a lot of families that struggle with how to fund the things that they want both for their child and for their own experiences. And so, I'd be really curious to glean your perspective when you talk to families about acquiring a Trexo. What are some of the biggest challenges that families have in actually receiving it?
Well, you hit it right on the head. The biggest challenge, first and foremost, is funding. Absolutely. Families that are special needs families, the biggest thing for anything in the family is financial. We get hit every direction of I'll come back, but I gotta say this for 20 seconds. It just absolutely ticks me off to no end. And one day I will figure something out. But it ticks me off to no end that it just seems to be okay that society can just implement so much cost and surcharge to families for medically necessary items for our kiddos to be able to just do their daily activities.
Mm.
How expensive just basic stuff. A chair, 8 grand. Come on. It's just not okay. But I'm just going to get off that high horse. But we'll go back to Trexo and being in words of what people say is expensive. First glance, yes. But at second glance, is you take the totality of the actual device, in my opinion, not as an employee, but in general. Think about it this way. It's a robot. It's like a car. Robots are not inexpensive to make. It's not a book. It's not a toy. It's something that's intricately put together by highly educated engineers that are constantly working. They train, they test. There's multitude and layers that in order to make this come to fruition. And it takes a lot. So, but what we tell families is this: there's so much funding out there that can be attainable to them. but they have to do some work. Some parents, they don't want to hear that. And I get it. But you have to drive on. You have to as I tell them, get your big girl panties on. And you know what? We have to, because unfortunately, there's no one there to like take the reins and go, you know what, Sarah, you've been through enough. Let me just do it for you. I got you. There's a lot of people that'll help you, but it's going to cost a little bit to help you in retrospect. But bottom line is, there's a lot of resources out there. Jordan's support now is out there that helping and providing a space to help you put out your information, put your story. I tell you this, we even get calls from donors. How can I help families? We get random calls from just, I saw it on the TV. I saw it and just, how can I help? And by having your page up, I tell them, hey, have you heard of Support Now? Have you heard it? No. Let me show you. Drop them a link and just give them an example. But it's an amazing way to show them what's out there, because there's so many people out there that want to help but don't know how to help.
For those that are listening that aren't familiar with what Support Now offers, in addition to having the largest database of active sortable medical grants in the world, which oftentimes can help cover some of the costs for a Trexo-like device, we also provide a platform, a solution that allows friends and families to come alongside of you in an effort to raise funds. And we have seen multiple examples of families very quickly raising money and within weeks being able now to afford the Trexo device. And to Sarah's point, one of the things that I often say, the hardest part of getting the things you want is not the people to give. It is the desire and the willingness to put yourself out there. So, Sarah, I would love for you to talk a little bit more about what is that feeling that you have experienced, that your families feel when putting themselves out there and looking like they need help? Like, explain kind of like what's going through their heads. Because I think often on the supporter side, we say, well, of course we want to help. But you can't unless you're given the opportunity to, and unless the family says yes, you're kind of stuck. So I would love for you to just elaborate on what you're hearing families say, what all the emotions that come alongside of putting together a place, a fundraiser effectively, where people can help.
Absolutely. Being in this space, and I hate hearing or having, I don't want a term like you wanted to ask. I don't want to be in a box. I don't want to be segregated. There isn't this term. So when I say this, lack of better term in sense of when I want to discuss this, is that being in this space is a difficult situation in itself. Secondly, when you need help, it's hard to just, in general, people aren't apt to just like ask for help, especially those that are very driven to be independent. So when you're given this scenario and you know darn well you just aren't going to be able to financially do it on your own at all whatsoever, and you know your child needs and wants this device for a daily thing, I call it have a come to Jesus moment and just sit. And I've talked to many, many, many families, and it's mainly moms, is discuss it. And we've discussed is it's pride. They're embarrassed. They feel they failed their child. It goes along with failure, like they can't do it. And we have heart to heart discussions. It's got nothing to do with failure. It's got nothing to do with it's those are all valid mixed emotions that you're going to experience and will continue. But keep your eye on the ball, and the end goal is for that child over there. That's it. We got to set our personal shortcomings aside and hard charge for those little ones that stare at us every day to make their day
So
great.
what I'm hearing you saying is like, it sounds like one of the things that you try to do when you're talking to families that want to do this, but know they can't afford it, which means, their options are apply for some grants. And, more times than not, it's a combination of that plus asking your community. What you're saying is this isn't about you, it's about them. It's about your child. It's about giving them the experience that they deserve. And as a result, your life will be enriched. It seems like that's kind of one of your go-tos is in terms of a reframe. Is that accurate?
You have to reframe. First and foremost, parents are stuck at the sticker shock. It takes them a while to just process. So when you fire at them all the information and like here, go there. They're just like stuck right here. You need to
Mhm.
give them time to process. That's why we call it a journey, because it takes everyone. It's like buying a car. Unless your car broke down, it's a journey. People like to invest and look and investigate, figure out what they want. What I'm getting at is this: they go through those segments and stages of emotions. And so once we finally figure out past the sticker shock and now they're ready to talk and engage, then we discuss and we get past that emotions. Okay, I'm on board. All right, let's get to support now. Let's start
Mhm.
this. Let's start the page. Let's talk about advocacy Abby. Abby is phenomenal in the sense of helping you. And she can help full force and you can go further and discuss about her because but my point is this: there's so many different avenues, and I'm here to help guide families to each stage. If I handhold, I'm here to handhold if I can. But putting yourself out there by putting your story, people want to hear your story. And I
Yeah.
understand how you're putting yourself out there. I'm a very, very private person, so I get it. I have to say I'm a hypocrite just in general because I don't have my page out there. I'm over here grinding, figuring out my funding for my son as well. But the point being is it is a hard thing. I can't do it. I'm still not there yet in my own world. But the point is, once they get past that, then they're like, let's go. And
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So, yeah, and you alluded to Abby. I'm so glad you did. Abby is a part of the Support Now team. She is the director of family advocacy. And part of why she is working alongside of Support Now is our goal isn't just to provide the best tools, but to really provide a customized, personalized plan for any family that needs to fundraise, that wants to fundraise, but wants to do it the right way. We often talk about the difference between Support Now and other crowdfunding platforms is Support Now is a hand up, not a handout. It's not designed to make you feel like you can't, or it's not designed to make you feel like you're the beggar on the corner. It's quite the opposite. We are trying and we are creating an experience for both the solution, the technology itself, as well as the team that we have to make sure that you know that you're giving people an opportunity. You're giving people an opportunity. And as she says, so this is stealing a line from her, but I love this line: extraordinary calls for extraordinary. It is not that you're not capable. It is not that you should feel shame and not being able to afford it. These are extraordinary circumstances that almost anyone in the world, if you switch place with, would feel and need to do the exact same thing. And I think once you kind of shift that focus to making people realize that this is less about their lack of capacity and more about the unique circumstance you're in, the more likely you can be receptive towards allowing people to do this. Of course, hopefully in the process, you feel great about letting people do this because in our experience, people are like, I wish I could do more. Can I do more? And it's so interesting to me how the inverse relationship that exists between how a family feels when they first put it out there and how excited a community often is to get to step up. And so, I echo so much of what you say. And another thing I want to touch on, certainly before we wrap up, is I think there's also a fear of failure in fundraising. So what happens if I put it out there and no one comes, right? Like, how often do you hear things like that in your world?
You hear that, and then and I'm sure, and Abby can talk about this too, and it's just the reality. And I will have that hard chat. I need to ask you a few things, and it might not be easy for me to ask or you to hear it, but I'm going to ask you these. Have you done your homework? Have you done what you're supposed to do? It's just because you post it doesn't mean it's going to get moving. Did you
Mhm.
do your homework? Did you do your posting? You can't just do the one step and call it good. You have to start. You got to drive. You got to each has a point. And I tell and encouraging the parents, keeping it fresh, keep it posting, post every day, get videos, get pictures, let families know what you're doing. Let me bring this up. I mean, no names given, but I know I have a couple families out there and I have a lot of families working hard. I got mamas out there slinging hot dogs on the corner. I got mamas out there doing the traditional bake sales. I got mamas doing all kinds of things. And then I got, and they're doing the pages and they're doing everything. Now they're like inspired. And also hearing, like you said, you brought up a great point. The starting point, they're nervous. As they get going, they get excited. And the thing I want to touch on is they are humbled by people that they had no idea You have your Facebook page and you might have connections of people you kind of know and who know of you. And then they make a donation. And sometimes it could be a big one. And they're like, oh, holy smokes. Like, and just, they'll call me bawling, like, just, I didn't know. And it's just so cool.
It's so
They're blown
cool.
away.
It's so cool, and Sarah, I think something you said earlier that I think really complements this topic is that there are a lot of people out there that want to pay it forward. Some of them you know, some of them you don't know, but unless you are willing to actually put it out there, you won't understand the capacity and the amount of support that could going your way. I mean, we see this on a weekly basis. People will create a support now, start getting some fundraising going, and then someone in their community comes and either makes a big donation or they contact that person directly and saying, I'd like to send money directly to this equipment company and I'm going to cover the rest. It happens all the time, because these are people that previously thought, I could never do this. I don't think I can get there. But they're oftentimes surprised that the least likely people are willing to do really extraordinary things because most people understand how uniquely extraordinary that situation is. And so, I think this is a really great kind of place to pause, because my hope is that in listening to this episode, for those medical mamas or medical families that are out there that want not just a Trexo, any of these things, it's not that you don't have the community. More times than not, it is that you are afraid to put yourself out there. And what Sarah is saying, both as a medical mom herself, what I am saying as as a supporter type, we can't help if we don't have a space to do it. It takes both parties to be willing to give this a shot. Now, can we guarantee success? No. But what I have found that even if people don't hit a certain fundraising goal, what they're amazed by is the community that they didn't realize actually cares about their story. And there's so much isolation in this experience, especially with a child with a disability, that you owe it to yourself to see that there are great people around you, regardless of the funding capacity they might have. And so, Sarah, I want to thank you for being open with your story, sharing about the incredible technology of this amazing daily walking robot machine that has given so many great memories and moments to families across the world. And I'd also love for you to share, for people that are interested in learning more about Trexo, where can they go to find out? Because again, my guess is there's going to be a lot of people here listening that said, I never even knew that this technology existed. This sounds so futuristic, and it is. And so where can they find out more?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. I can give you 500 numbers. We're not going to do that. Let's just keep it super simple for all of you. TrexoRobotics.com. Look us up on socials. Everybody's on social. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, like us, share, take a peek. We're all on there. Send us a DM. I'm behind the DMs, so is a couple other of us. But come to TrexoRobotics.com. We'll have all of our learning prefaces, case studies, information guides, websites. You can do a direct there. Also, check out our podcast. We have a podcast as well. There you can share and see our story, my story in depth, as well as the premise of how Trexo started with the CEO. It is a phenomenal story. Then you can really understand how heartfelt how Trexo started, because I'll tell you what, it blows me away every time I hear it from Men Meet. And it's just phenomenal. My colleague, Mark, sales rep, his son is also in a Trexo. Phenomenal story as well. Please take a peek at it, but TrexoRobotics.com, and we're all here to help. It's a family, and we continue to grow, and we'll be here for you along the way.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate this, and I'm excited to share this resource, more resources out to this community that is so deserving of a quality of life and a capacity like every able-bodied family in the world. So thank you so much, and look forward to future conversations, and look forward to serving more of the families you get to talk to every day.
Again, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.